These words from Carl Jung are not just a poetic insight. They are a mirror held up to the soul, exposing the often misunderstood terrain within us. We do not lack motivation. We are not lazy, we are lost, and that is a distinction the world rarely understands. You wake up late. The day already feels heavy, like it's asking too much of you before you even open your eyes. The sunlight slips through the blinds, where it doesn't feel like light. It feels like accusation. Another day, and still no progress. Still no momentum. Still stuck in the mud of something you can't quite name. And they call you lazy. But laziness is a conscious refusal. Laziness is knowing what must be done and choosing inertia. What you are experiencing is not laziness. What you are carrying is the weight of 1,000 unspoken questions. You are lost, not in the sense of being weak or directionless, but in the sense of wandering through the wilderness of your own becoming. Carl Jung believed that within each of us exists the self, the totality of who we are and who we could become. The self is not the ego, not the curated identity we offer to the world, but the whole being, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, order and chaos. And when we are disconnected from that self, we suffer. We drift, we lose the spark. We begin to feel like something is missing, even if we cannot articulate what that something is. You see, the soul doesn't scream. It whispers, it nudges, it haunts. It speaks through disinterest, through apathy, through a quiet dissatisfaction that you mistake for failure. You scroll through your phone, trying to escape the numbness. You binge shows, not because you're lazy, but because you need to silence the dissonance. You can't bring yourself to start that project, not because you don't care, but because it doesn't speak to the part of you that craves meaning. You are not lazy, you are lost. And being lost is not a flaw. It is the beginning of the journey. There is a story deep in your psyche that you have not yet begun to read. You have followed the rules, you have done what was expected, you have worn the mask and walked the paths laid out for you. But something inside you, call it your soul, your spirit, yourself, knows that this life, the one where you simply survive, is not enough. There is something more. There must be. And that knowing is not a curse. It is a call. Jung would call this the individuation process, the slow, often painful unfolding of your true nature. It is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It is about peeling back the layers of shoulds and musts until you stand raw and real before yourself. The absence of motivation is not a failure of discipline. It is a message from the unconscious, a signal that the life you are living does not align with the truth buried within you. You are not lazy, you are being called, but you haven't yet learned to hear the voice. So what does it mean to be lost? It means you are standing at the edge of the forest and you can't see the path. It means you are in the belly of the whale, swallowed whole by confusion and doubt. It means you are caught between the person you were told to be and the person you have not yet dared to become. And that space, that sacred in-between, is not the end. It is the beginning. This is the descent, the necessary fall into the underworld of your psyche where the treasures of your true self are buried beneath years of conditioning. You must go down before you can rise. You must be undone before you can be reborn. Motivation will not come from forcing yourself into action. It will not come from shame or guilt or comparison. It will come when you begin to align with the truth of your being. When you stop asking, "What should I do?" and begin asking, "Who am I becoming?" The self is waiting. The soul is whispering. And though the world will keep shouting, demanding that you produce and achieve and conform, you must learn to listen beneath the noise. Go inward. Find the place where your joy was buried. Recall the dreams that made your heart race before you learned they were impractical. Sit with the pain you have avoided. Grieve the parts of you that were never seen, never honored. You cannot find your way forward until you understand why you feel lost. And you cannot understand that until you turn within. Do not rush this process. Do not judge your wandering. There is a kind of sacredness in the wilderness. The great myths of old always begin with the hero's departure, not the victory. The dragon must be faced, the night must be endured, and so too must you walk through the dark before you emerge in the light. You are not broken, you are becoming. The truth is, the modern world doesn't make space for the soul. It praises efficiency and punishes introspection. It rewards productivity, not presence. But the soul does not care about your schedule. It cares about your truth. And if your truth is being smothered, if your life is a performance rather than a purpose, your soul will resist. That resistance is not laziness. It is rebellion. Holy rebellion. Jung taught that the shadow, the unconscious part of us that holds our fears, our wounds, our rejected truths, is not evil. It is simply unknown. And what is unknown becomes a barrier until it is faced. If you feel unmotivated, perhaps it is because something in the shadow is asking to be seen. Perhaps your lack of drive is not a problem to fix, but a portal to enter. Look at your pain. Look at your apathy. Look at your disconnection. These are not enemies. They are messengers. They are the soul's way of saying, there is more for you, but not here, not like this. Your path will not look like anyone else's. It was not meant to. Your journey is yours alone. You do not need to move faster. You need to move truer. You do not need to be more disciplined. You need to be more honest. Ask yourself, not what you can do to be more productive, but what you can do to be more alive. Reclaim the parts of you that you abandoned to survive. Rekindle the fire that was extinguished by duty. Return to the roots of your own being. And from that place, motivation will return, not as a force you must conjure, but as a current you can ride. You are not lazy. You are not a failure. You are not broken. You are lost. And that is a sacred place to be, because to be lost is to be on the verge of being found. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them label what they do not understand. But do not abandon yourself in search of their approval. Stay, breathe, listen, heal. And when the time comes, and it will, you will rise, not because you pushed yourself to, but because your soul has remembered the way. So go, not forward, not backward, but inward. That is where the truth waits. That is where you will remember. You were never lazy. You were only waiting for the courage to return to yourself. You're not unmotivated. You're emotionally burned out. Let's stop lying to ourselves. You've been calling it a lack of motivation, a failure of discipline, maybe even laziness. But none of those labels are true. They're just easier to say out loud than the real thing. The truth is more complex, more invisible, more difficult to name. The truth is, you're emotionally exhausted, burned out in ways you haven't fully realized. And no, this isn't just about work. It's not just about your to-do list or your goals or your inability to stick to a morning routine. This is about what you carry. Deep down, every day. Because while you're trying to function, trying to show up, trying to stay productive and useful and acceptable, underneath, there are chains around your ankles. Invisible weights you've been dragging through life like a silent war no one else sees. Old trauma that never got time to heal. Memories that still sit like stones on your chest, the way you learned to smile when you wanted to cry. To keep going when everything in you was screaming to stop. You carry the fear of failure like it's stitched into your skin. You overthink everything, not because you're indecisive, but because you were taught that one wrong move could cost you love, safety, worthiness. You've mastered the art of people-pleasing, saying yes when you want to say no, absorbing everyone else's emotions, managing their moods so you don't have to deal with rejection. It's not because you're weak. It's because you were never allowed to be anything else. You feel guilty for resting, guilty for not doing more, guilty for not being more. And this guilt isn't just in your head. It lives in your nervous system. It controls your breath, your posture, your self-talk. You've internalized a belief that you must earn your right to simply exist. This isn't just tiring, it's paralyzing. Imagine being asked to run a marathon with a 100-pound backpack. That's what it's like to force motivation when you're emotionally burdened. No wonder your legs give out. No wonder you can't find the will to get up and try again. You're not broken. You're carrying too much. And the hardest part? You might look fine. Maybe you're even achieving things. You go to work. You smile at friends. You show up in your relationships. From the outside, no one would know. They might even envy you. But inside, you're numb, drained, distant from yourself. You've grown so used to pretending that even you started to believe the mask. But your body didn't. Your nervous system didn't. Your soul didn't. This is your mind and body trying to protect you, slowing you down, numbing you, freezing you, not as punishment, but as a form of wisdom, as a cry for help, as a signal that something isn't right. You're not lazy. You're trying to survive. Let that land. Your so-called lack of motivation is actually your system trying to keep you safe from more overwhelm, more pressure, more emotional debt you can't afford to pay. Your inner voice, the one you've been trained to silence, is whispering, please stop, please listen, please rest. We've created a culture that glorifies hustle and vilifies stillness. We've learned to equate our worth with our output. We measure our value by how much we do, not how deeply we feel or how honestly we heal. So when you slow down, when your soul goes quiet, when your body says, no more, you think something is wrong with you. You think you failed. When really, it's the first time you've been honest with yourself in years. Burnout doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like apathy, disinterest, that hollow feeling when nothing excites you anymore. You can't focus, you can't start, you can't finish, you can't care. And it's terrifying because you used to care, you used to dream, you used to have fire. But emotional burnout doesn't kill the fire, it buries it. And the more you ignore the signs, the deeper it hides. You don't get your spark back by forcing motivation. You get it back by facing the truth, by grieving the weight you've carried, by giving yourself permission to not be okay, to rest, to release, to unravel. You heal not by becoming more disciplined, but by becoming more compassionate with yourself. The version of you that's tired, sad, shut down, that version deserves love too. Not judgment, not punishment, love. So maybe today is not about pushing harder. Maybe it's about surrendering to the wisdom of your exhaustion. Maybe it's time to stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what do I need right now that I've been denying myself for too long? You don't need a better routine. You need a better relationship with yourself. Talk to your burnout like it's a friend who showed up to warn you. What is it trying to protect you from? What has it been trying to say? Because behind every I can't is a deeper, I'm hurting. This isn't a mindset problem. It's a heart problem. It's a nervous system problem. It's a soul problem. And healing it won't happen overnight. It's not about finding the magic switch to make everything better. It's about rebuilding safety in your body, piece by piece, learning how to exist without constant performance, learning how to feel without shutting down, learning how to want again, genuinely, not because you should, but because you're finally ready. So if you're sitting there, stuck scrolling, shaming yourself for another unproductive day, pause, breathe, close your eyes and ask, what hurts? Ask, what have I been pushing away? Ask, what part of me needs my love the most right now? Maybe you need mercy. This was just the beginning of remembering who you are. When you're ready, and you are, the next step is waiting for you. Watch the next video. Keep going. You deserve to come home to yourself.